Nvidia just announced its earnings and revenue for this quarter today, Wednesday, on May 28. So the company reported better than expected earnings and revenue on Wednesday as the company's booming data center business recorded a year-over-year growth of 73%. The stock jumped 4% after hours. The earning per share stands at 96 cents adjusted versus 93 cents estimated. So they beat the estimate by 3 cents. And the revenue came at 44.0.6 billion versus estimate 43.31 billion. So the company revenue, they beat the revenue estimate also by nicely. The Nvidia stock after hours jumped almost $6, reaching almost $141. The stock had a massive sell-off during last 2 or 3 months because of this DeepSeek invention from China, thinking that the AI models can be run in a cheaper cost. People started doubting if this kind of high-powered computing provided by Nvidia chips and the GPUs, whether they are necessary. And secondly, because of the tariff imposed against China, the investors started doubting that Nvidia's revenue is going to be impacted because of certain chips. In this report, they would say that they had about $4.5 billion write-off, but the investors really got concerned, and the stock went down to almost $92. Since that point, they had a good agreement recently in Saudi Arabia to create data centers in Middle East, and since that time the stock has significantly recovered. So it has made a recovered from $93 all the way to $141 as of now. Nvidia just announced financial results for first quarter fiscal 2026. Revenue is $44.1 billion, up 12% from last quarter and up 69% from year ago. Data center revenue up $39 billion and up 10% last quarter compared to last quarter and up 73% a year ago. This quarter, the GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins were 60.5% and 61% respectively. Excluding $4.5 billion charge, first quarter non-GAAP gross margin would have 71.3%. In this report, they also mentioned that on April 9, 2025, Nvidia was informed by the US government that a license is required to export its H20 product into China market, as a result of which new requirements, Nvidia incurred $4.5 billion charges in their first quarter of fiscal 2026 associated with H20 excess inventory and purchase obligation as the demand for H20 diminished. Sales of H20 products were $4.6 billion for the first quarter of fiscal 2026 prior to the new export licensing requirement. Nvidia was unable to ship an additional $2.5 billion of H20 revenues for the first quarter. So for the quarter, GAAP and non-GAAP earnings and diluted shares were 76 cents and 81 cents respectively. Excluding the $4.5 billion charges related to H20, the related tax impact, the first quarter non-GAAP diluted earnings per share would have been 96 cents. They also mentioned that the breakthrough Blackwell NVL72 AI supercomputer, the thinking machine designed for reasoning is now full-scale production across system. Jensen Huang, founder of CEO of Nvidia, mentioned the global demand for Nvidia AI infrastructure is incredibly strong. AI inference token generation has surged tenfolds just from 1 year, and the AI agent became mainstream, and the demand for AI computing would accelerate. Countries around the world are recognizing AI as essential infrastructure, just like electricity and the internet, and the Nvidia stands at the center of this profound transformation. So here is this overall summary, and Nvidia is going to be issuing a next quarterly cash dividends of 1 cent per share on July 3, 2025 to their shareholders. So here is the GAAP based revenue. That first quarter, the financial year 26 at 44.06 billion, last quarter 39.33 billion. So quarter to quarter increase is 12%, year to year is 69%. Gross margin is 12 basis points, quarter to quarter 17.9% year to year. Operating expenses around 5 billion for this quarter compared to the last quarter. Quarter to quarter is 7%, year to year 44%. Operating income is down 10% quarter to quarter, year to year is 28%. Net income is down 15% quarter to quarter, 26% year over year, and diluted earnings is 15%, negative 15%, and 27% year over year, and below the non-GAAP numbers also accordingly. So diluted earnings per share in the last row, the H2 charges, excluding that, the tax impact, diluted earning is 96 cents. And overall outlook in the Nvidia, they say that revenue is expected to be $45 billion plus minus 2%. The outlook reflects a total of H20 revenue approximately 8 billion due to the recent export control limitations. The GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins are expected to be 71.8% and 72% respectively. GAAP and non-GAAP operating expenses are expected to be approximately 5.7 billion and 4.4 billion respectively. The full year 2020 operating expense growth is expected to be in the mid 30% range. GAAP and non-GAAP income and expenses are expected to be in income of approximately 450 million, excluding gains and losses from non-marketable and publicly held equity securities. GAAP and non-GAAP tax rates are expected to be 16.5% plus minus 1%, excluding any discrete items. Other highlights are that Nvidia achieved progress since the previous earning announced in these areas. First quarter revenue was 39.1 billion, up 10% from the previous quarter, up 73% from a year ago. Announced that Nvidia would build factories in the US and working with its partners to produce Nvidia AI supercomputers in the US. It introduced Nvidia Blackwell Ultra and Nvidia Dynamo to accelerate scaling AI reasoning models. Another thing is announced partnership with Humane to build AI factories in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to drive next wave of artificial intelligence. Actually, it's one of the reasons after this deal, they deal with Saudi Arabia, the stock actually started going up after a big sell-off after this tariff announcement related to China and H2 excess inventory write-off. Another thing is Stargate, United Arab Emirate, UAE, the next generation AI infrastructure cluster in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, along with strategic partners G42, OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank Group, and Cisco. It revealed plans to work with Foxconn and other Taiwan government to build AI factory supercomputers. Announced Nvidia is speeding its IT infrastructure transition to enterprise AI factories with Nvidia RTX PRO servers. Unveiled NVLink Fusion to the industry, and there is a lot of other great products you can read in this report that I'll put the link below. It announced that Nvidia Blackwell platform set records in latest machine learning performance inference results from delivering up to 30% higher throughput. Nvidia DZX Cloud Lepton is deliver the developers to Nvidia global computer ecosystems. It launched Llama Nemotron family of models. This is from Meta for reasoning capacities, providing a foundation for creating advanced AI agents. Introduced NVIDIA AI data platform, a customizable reference design and AI inference workload. Announced the operating and research center in Japan that holds whole largest quantum research supercomputers. They also talk about gaming and AI PC. First quarter gaming revenue is a record 3.8 billion, up 48%. And up 42% from a year ago. Regarding professional visualization, first quarter revenue was 509 million, and the previous quarter up 19% a year ago. Automatics and robotics, first quarter automotive revenue was 560 million, down 1% from previous quarter and up 72% from a year ago. And more details are provided here. And the CFO commentary, the comment on quarter by Coletta Kress, Nvidia Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, is available at this website, https://investor.nvidia.com. So overall, it is a very satisfactory quarter for Nvidia. And after hours, the stock is up $6. So significantly higher, and hopefully the market should respond pretty well tomorrow. So that's the summary of Nvidia's financial reports for this quarter, first quarter of fiscal 2026.